What are notes? And what can they do for you? Stay tuned. Welcome to this week's edition of NoteSchool TV. Well, where every week we bring you the most amazing content, the most amazing guests. And this week it's going to be Eddie and I, and we're going to be doing a little interview process really about those two things. What are notes and what can they do for you? So if you will, make sure and like this presentation, this episode, hit the like button, make sure and subscribe if you have not already done so. Subscribe to the NoteSchool TV channel. And number 3, make sure and hit that bell notification. Yep, just hit that bell notification so that you will be advised as to when we are going live every Wednesday at 11:05 Central Time. So make sure and do that. Continue to send us your comments, your questions. We love hearing from you. We love responding to what's going on with you in your market and what you have to say in your questions. We love to have those. And if you want to learn more about what we do at NoteSchool, simply go to noteschool.com/TV. Again, noteschool.com/TV. And we'll have a conversation with you. All right. So with that, we are not going to have a news story this week, but we are going to bring on, well, our founder of NoteSchool, our chief visionary officer, all-around good guy, my friend, Mr. Eddie Speed.
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
Excellent. Well, we've got a good show today, and we want to go back to kind of the basics and get what it is that NoteSchool is all about. Your vision when you started NoteSchool back 20 plus years ago. And so let's start out there and we'll talk about notes and we'll talk about how they can help you and do all of that. But let's start at the beginning, Eddie.
Well, I started NoteSchool really because I wanted to do business with my students, right? And I wanted to have business relationships with them. And I couldn't really do that well until I could up their game. Teach people things that otherwise I had learned, but it'd take me many years to learn.
Yeah.
And so what people learn, the wealthiest people, Joe, are the wealthiest thinkers.
That's it.
All want one thing, and that is a compression of time.
Absolutely.
Right. We don't want to, we don't, we're not looking for the crock pot here, right? We're looking for the microwave.
That's it.
Right. And so people want a compression of time. And so I could give them, but by 2000, really, when we kind of started NoteSchool, I'd already been in the business since 1980, 20 years.
Yeah.
I could give them a compression of time and experiences. And so that was really my idea, is to give people a vision that they were plenty smart enough to learn, but let me accelerate that process.
Right. Didn't have to have the stumbling blocks. And there were only a couple over that first 20 years, right?
Oh, yeah. I've only stumbled twice. That's right. Yeah.
So, Eddie, let's talk about, let's talk about what a note is. And then I want to go into the first steps that would move our viewers towards the financial freedom that we talk about.
Well, when we say the note business, we are specifically talking about real estate secured notes.
Right.
If we were talking about notes in general, everybody on this call is in the note business.
Right.
Because they have money, folded money in their pocket.
Right.
And that is right there on a bill. It says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. It says that on every bill that you have, right? Every dollar bill, $100 bill, whatever. Also, Joe, if you've ever written a check.
Yes.
Right? And if you've ever written a check, then you realize that you wrote a note.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever gotten a check, then you've taken a note. If you've ever deposited the check in the bank, then you've sold a note. Because you endorsed that back of that note. You technically sold it to your bank. Now, they then pass it on to the other bank.
It's a promise to pay, right?
It's a promise to pay. So we buy real estate secured loans that earn interest and pay over time. So it produces, Joe, a monthly cash flow for a long period of time in the future. You're secured by real estate, but you don't physically own it. You're the bank, not a landlord. Now, we buy loans at a discount. Okay? So people go, oh, my God, that's confusing. Okay, well, let's think about it like this, Joe. Have you ever heard of a check cashing service?
Yes.
Right? So people, a lot of times like working people or people that don't necessarily have a bank account or don't, they just want to get a check on Friday and get cash, right?
Yep.
They physically go to one of these check cashing services, Joe, and they give the check cashing service $1,000 check. But the check cashing service doesn't give them $1,000 back. They only give them, say, $900. Right. So they get $900, but the check cashing service gets $1,000 check. Technically, what happened is the check cashing service bought their note, the check that they had. They bought that note at a discount. So that's a discounted note. So we buy notes typically at less than the full amount that is owed. And on top of that, Joe, we're also going to earn interest.
That's right.
So that's the note business in a nutshell. So you think about it, like people say, what's the first thing I like about notes? Long-term income, little bit of work involved.
So one of the things that I love to say, Eddie, about the note space is that you do the work once, right? And you get paid for a long time. You get paid for 20 to 30 years. And that's what's really exciting to me. And I know to most people that come to Note School, that's what they're looking for, right? They're looking, we'll just do a little work now, and then we'll have all of this benefit for the next number of years.
So there's a couple of kind of notes we help people with, right? One of them are just performing notes. They're secured by property. The customer's paying every month. We buy the note. Then they pay us every month.
Right.
There's also, Joe, right now in the market, a couple of million loans that are in default.
That's right.
People say, well, why in the world would I buy a note when it's not paying? Because you're buying that note at way less than the property value. Right. You're buying that note, which is, let's just call it a foreclosure in incubation. It is in progressing, and you're buying that note at way less than what the property's worth. So it kind of attracts two different kind of people or two different kinds of strategies. So those are the two kind of notes we generally deal in: performing notes and non-performing notes.
Right.
And right now, Joe, we have found ourselves in this market cycle, this season in the business, where there's a lot more notes than there were before.
Right. And really, it's just because of, we came off of COVID, and there were non-performing notes that were left over from the Great Recession back in many years, 10, 12 years ago. And then there's this new pile of non-performing notes. And what we're seeing is those are finally, coming to the market.
But both in the re-performing category and the non-performing category. A lot of loans were modified. So people had a problem during the virus. They worked at Marriott, or they worked at, a restaurant, or they were in some kind of business that just couldn't function so they had an interruption in their life. They've now modified. They're back paying again. They've been paying again now for, Joe, honestly, a couple of years. That re-performing note is reestablished. And so that's a good opportunity in the market. We're seeing a lot of those. And then also we're seeing loans where they're not paying, they're in default.
Yeah. And, with the RPLs, with the re-performing, what I like to say about those is, really, it's just, bad things happen to good people all the time. And we know that. And those are people that needed a leg up, and they got that. And now they're back on track and they're paying again. Yeah. And so one of the questions that we get is that, so just explain just for a minute or so, what's my collateral when I buy a note? How does that take back into the house? How does that work?
Well, I have a first mortgage on the property, like your bank may have on your property.
Right.
And so I have the property as a backstop, as collateral in case, God forbid, they can't pay.
Right.
But I don't physically own the property. No, the plumber doesn't send me the bill. I don't pay the taxes. I don't pay the insurance. I'm the bank. And a lot of people really like notes because, what people are looking for is financial freedom, right? And people say, well, okay, how do I get to the steps of financial freedom? Like,
right.
What does that look like? And so the reality is, Joe, that rental houses became really a big deal. They called it the BRRRR model: buy, rehab, rent, refi.
And repeat.
Well, yeah, and repeat, and R, like, that.
Yeah.
But understand that expenses have risen a lot on rental properties. Rent did rise, but now rent is declining. So the cash flow of more expenses and less rent income has hit people that had rentals. And now all of a sudden, to get a new rental, the mortgage rates have more than double of what they were. So typically, people investing in rental properties, residential rental properties, are not cash flowing at near the rate that it was, if at all. And so people say, well, that's not my financial freedom. I'm looking for something that's going to, and so we're like, so we've now entered what we would say is a note cycle in the industry. I'm going to buy an asset, or I can even owner finance my own rent property.
True. Yeah.
I can get income every month because I'm the bank. And I can get way more net income than I can renting. And that's why people like this, right? And let me just ask you this, Joe. Would you rather, if all things were equal, let's just say, and you could make the same money,
right?
Would you rather be a landlord or the bank?
Well, I think that one's pretty easy for me to answer. And that's, I'd rather be the bank. I'd rather have that money just wired directly into my account every month versus having to go knock on the door and collect that rent check, right?
Yeah. So these are what we would say are people making steps to their financial freedom. And you can buy notes and you can keep cash flow. You can buy defaulted loans and you can, trick up your income because you bought the asset at way worth less than what the property's worth. You also can use it as a wealth strategy. You can buy the note and even sell the front end of the note and recoup essentially most of your investment, meaning little of your retirement dollars or investment dollars invested, and then you own the back many years of a note. So there's different things that people can do depending on what it is they're trying to accomplish. Most people want two things. They want cash flow. They want peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
They're not looking for another job. They're looking for an investment strategy, not another job.
Right.
And so we've kind of really worked super hard at figuring out how NoteSchool and its sister companies can help people do that so that they have a strategy that gives them financial future. And there's not just one path. There's multiple ways depending on what somebody's story is.
Eddie, and when you say cash flow, what pops into my mind is the cash flow is a net cash flow. It's not, I don't have to worry about all these other things coming out of that check every month. It's net, right? The peace of mind.
When you own the mortgage, you get income. When you own the property, you get some income, but you get a lot of expenses and headaches.
And you don't know when that surprise invoice is going to pop in there for you, right?
Exactly.
And then when you talk about peace of mind that people are looking for, it's we've invested in this note that where the collateral has, we bought it at a discount, so we have a good spread in there if, God forbid, something were to happen, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really the benefit of doing that.
Well, the one thing I would say about notes, and people say, what are the benefits of notes versus other investments?
Right.
Well, right now, To be perfectly honest with you, if you're in commercial real estate or if you're in multifamily or you're in any of those things, that market is dropping. I mean, there's every statistic in the world that shows you it's a declining market value. It's going down in value, right? For all of these market stresses. Okay. So the other thing is that rent properties are really struggling to produce any kind of cash flow. Although, Joe, they produce a lot of opportunities for aggravations.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people say, well, why do you think notes are better than other investments? And I would say over 44 years, that's how long I've been doing this business. You 30 something.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a cycle that rentals were better than notes. We're not saying that's always the case. We're just saying it's market timing.
Yeah.
And so rates are up, expenses are up, rents are declining.
Right.
So why not be the bank? And people say, oh yeah, and when I'm the bank, I don't have near the worries. I believe, Joe, you easily can own 1,000 notes.
Yes.
For the same work factor of owning 100 rentals.
I 100% agree. And anybody that's in the note space will tell you that as well. So those are really the benefits. The biggest benefit is that, you do the work once and you're done with it, right? You're having this a third party servicer, which, we have a whole list of those, and you are the bank because you don't have to do anything other than verify, look in your bank account once a month.
Yeah. So people say, once I do that, like if you like what we're saying, then we'll talk about what NoteSchool helps people do.
Right.
This is the benefit that Notes gives you. This is why I like it. It's why you like it, Joe, right?
Yes.
A lot of people show up, they've had rentals, they're burnout landlords, they're this, they're that. Like, hey, I can take my existing rental and owner finance it with way more income than I could.
Yes.
Just keeping it as a rental. All of that, right? So what does NoteSchool do?
Yeah.
So my vision when I started NoteSchool was to show people things that otherwise they wouldn't necessarily realize.
Right.
Like I show people how my wife buys a long-term note in a self-directed retirement account. Then she buys the whole note. She then sells off the front part of the note and gets most of her investment back. Right. Then she, for a small amount of money, owns a note that starts paying, say, 10 years from now, and it pays a monthly payment for an insignificant amount of an investment compared to what an income. You're saying, what's insignificant? Oh, I don't know. $1,000 investment could produce $100,000 in future payments. That kind of crazy math.
Yeah.
And people say that's not possible. Okay, well then come to a master class and I guarantee you we'll show you how that's possible.
Yes, we will.
So understand that those are things that people will do. And people then say, well, but there's non-performing, and like, how does that work? And how long does that take? And so what we do is put actual deals together and show people specific examples of what that looks like of somebody that's participated in NoteSchool and what they experienced. Right? In other words, think about it, Joe. Like, think about if you were born blind. And I said, describe the color blue.
Yes.
You're wearing a blue shirt today, right?
There you go.
But if you've never seen blue, how would you describe it?
No point of reference.
So we kind of take that idea, we apply that to the business, and we say, what we want to do is give you a vision, to give you clarity of things that people can do and results that they get. And then NoteSchool starts out with an introductory style. We get into a deeper level of training. We have a deeper level of we then built a university around this lane. Like, how far do you want to go? Some people only want to go a little bit. Some people want to go like for a long way down the road.
That's right.
And so we don't try to define what we think is good for you. We let you define it. The more people generally learn, the more opportunity they see, the more they want to do it. And so NoteSchool has been, I'd been, as I said, I was in the business about 20 years. And I said, I want to do a lot more business with our students. And so, it's kind of like, who does NoteSchool serve? Right? We're really good in serving burnout landlords.
100%.
We're really good at serving people that are looking for alternative investments to rent properties or even investing in other real estate things like syndications and stuff like that. We're a great alternative to it. And we are a safer path, I believe, today than that market has to offer, right? Who else do we serve? We serve busy 9-to-5ers.
That's it.
And your 9-to-5 could be you're a dentist. It could be you're a high-end realtor. It could be you're an engineer. It could be that, you're a school teacher, like busy 9-to-5ers with some investable money. And but they're not confident in what they would invest in. Okay. And the last thing, Joe, is we serve people that are a little bit cynical. Okay. And I'm probably one of those. Right? They don't necessarily trust. They don't necessarily think that the stock market is going to keep going like a hockey stick up, right? They're concerned about that, and they're looking for diversification. They'd rather take control of some of their investments than have Wall Street control all their investments. And if you're that guy, we do really well with you, that guy, that person, obviously. So understand, like, these are people that we really help. And like, this is what NoteSchool has done really well. NoteSchool has a lot of gray hair around it. Yeah. Right. When you're listening to a guy this is my 44th year in the business, Joe, when did you start? 1990?
1990. So we're 34
years in the business. Like, and our whole team is like this. Like, so you're looking around, and sometimes, Joe, experience matters.
It does. It does.
And so we're trying to gain from our experience students that have liked certain things that we teach or certain advantages we do. And we just really have gone through a process here of helping people know, like, this is possible for them.
Yeah.
All right.
Eddie, the takeaways from this that I see is, obviously the cash flow and the peace of mind and the leverage. You and I get to see the sparkle in somebody's eyes, or it's like showing up on Christmas morning, right? Like, oh my gosh, when we look at the leveraging part of that and how that can really accelerate what you can do by recapitalizing your bank, by selling a partial, and we'll get into all of that, right? And what all of that really means. But we get to see
Here's the result. Here's the results, Joe.
Yeah.
We got a retiring captain with airline, right? Airplane captain, right? Mm-hmm. He wants to replace his income that he's earning. He's being forced to retirement at 65. He has to retire from being an airline captain. They make a lot of money.
They do.
He came to us a year and a half beforehand and says, I want to buy enough notes to replace my income. He came to us a year into that process. Yeah. Still has 6 months left before he retires. And he says, I've already done it.
Yeah.
We have another couple that had were self-employed, right, and they were earning net income on rental properties.
Correct.
Right? Because of expenses and an uptick in interest rates, they had a gap in over $10,000 of their income every month.
Absolutely.
They say, we want to buy notes that are producing big cash flow, little trouble, and we want to do that. Then we have somebody else shows up and they say, I'm behind on my retirement.
Yeah.
I'm 50, whatever. I'm 54 years old, and I'm not where I need to be. I need to go do what Eddie's wife, Martha, does.
Right.
I need to go trick up my retirement using some leveraging strategies. Mm-hmm. Right. And then they go take a smaller amount of money and turn it into a big amount of money because they sell, there's a whole cash flow. Then they sell the first part of the note, which gives them a lump sum of money today to recapitalize. They keep some small amount of money invested that turns into a big cash flow. And you're saying, can can Notes really do all that stuff? We've got countless stories of students. We put them on NoteSchool TV.
Yeah.
We have them involved in our training. Like, what I like to do is say, just come hang out with us and go hear what somebody else says. Yeah. Not what Joe and I say. Go listen to their story.
That's it. Eddie, I think that, when we talk about first steps and what we do at NoteSchool, this is what we're all about. And we do this every day. We've been doing it every day for many years. And we'd like to invite you guys to check us out, and let's talk about what next steps really are all about.
Well, I mean, I think that's true. It's a progressional process, we can talk about the benefits of Notes today. Joe, let's talk about a couple of things that people could be thinking, right? This sounds complicated.
Yeah.
You know what complicated is, Joe? Rehabbing a house.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's not easy, right? That's tearing inside it, and you don't know what you're going to find. And then you got to manage the contractors, and then Joe, that you got to go figure out whether they're telling you the truth, right? Is that really what's wrong, or if it's something else? Like, those are things to me that I've experienced in life that seem fairly difficult.
It is, and it's a grind.
The note buying is a process, and we've just simply defined what the steps are. When you can define the steps, then what you've essentially done is given someone a roadmap. Like think in terms of, it's way easier than putting that kid's car together on Christmas Eve. I'm just saying, Joe, you get what I'm talking about?
Been there, done that. You have to.
And because you got those set of instructions and you hope they're clear, right?
Yeah.
But the point is that we have taken what might have been more complex.
Yeah.
And we've broken it into a step-by-step process that all of a sudden is like, okay, you can see it. So we teach both ends. We teach what's possible, which is the stories about students and what they did and how it works. And then people can have a vision. Then people can see how that works.
That's right.
Right? They can see themselves in a case study of, I want to go do it like so-and-so. I want to be like Tom, or I want to be like Adam or Emily, or I want to be like Martha. Like, that's kind of funny. We almost kind of teach, like, we have people that kind of have developed certain things that we just use in case studies.
Yeah.
And we kind of call it that model, although they didn't really invent that model, but they've used it well, right?
Right. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, then people say, okay, if I want to do that, how can I do that? Meaning, is there a defined process? Is there a defined set of steps that I can follow so that I can see what to do? And the last thing, Joe, is let's talk about something that's important in this area, like the mechanics of the business.
Right.
And I'm going to go back to something you mentioned earlier. And Joe, that is having a loan third-party serviced. So there are some legal obligations. You're collecting a payment, principal and interest. You got to split it out, right? At the end of the year, you got to do some IRS reporting. You got to make sure the house is insured. You got to make sure the taxes are paid. Joe, what if I just had a vendor that could do that for me and I never had to do it?
Wouldn't that be amazing?
That's called a loan servicer.
That's it.
And by the way, they don't charge near the money that property managers charge.
That's right.
Right? Property managers kind of market deals about 10% of the rents.
Right.
That's a lot of your income.
It's a lot.
So the note income they don't bite into your income in that way, but they do a lot of things that allow you to do it. So freedom, Joe, like people say, what's my freedom number? What does freedom look like for me? Like, people use this a lot, which gets into your why.
That's it.
But the one thing I've learned, unless you can get financially free, you can't go, you're not free enough to go do the other things in life that were most important to you. So people say, well, money's not the most important thing. And that is 100% true.
Absolutely.
But don't ever let somebody tell you money isn't important.
Yeah.
Because it does give you, if you're financially free, then you get to go be free in other endeavors in your life, whether it's your charities or your family or your adventures or your trips, like whatever that is for you. And we've got some really cool stories where we've seen people get that freedom. And I see them on Facebook, Joe, and they're out there in other countries and they're doing all this cool stuff. And then they really seriously, like with tears in their eyes, Joe,
I know.
Right? And they're like, you guys help, you guys, what you taught us, what NoteSchool showed us a path to do, let us accomplish that. And then that's what I think freedom is.
It really is. So being able to do it from anywhere, anytime in the world. You know, I love that we have folks all over the world that are buying notes, right? We have, I think of Sarah and Doug Till sitting in their motorhome in Montana, and Sarah's got a picture of her buying a note, sitting in the motorhome in a park that's freedom. That's freedom. It really is. So, Eddie, thank you so much for the clarification on that. We final words.
You know, if you like what we're talking about today, check us out. See, you know, our job will then be to kind of show you a path and show you some things of how it works, and just check us out and see if you like it. I like it.
I like it. Yeah. NoteSchool.com/TV. NoteSchool.com/TV. We'll see you there. Eddie, thanks so much.
There's a master class when you go there, and there's a master class that you can check it out. We're going to show you some specific examples. And so that's when you go there, it's going to kind of lead you to a process that you can say, I want to learn some more details. And that master class will give you a good clarity of what's maybe possible.
What's possible. That's what it's all about. All right. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Bye-bye.